you see this painting? In a while, I'm going to give you two versions of this painting and you have to tell me which is the one you are going to buy. Now, as you see them on the screen, I'm sure you went for version 2. Now, why is that so? Of course, Rima, the version 2 is framed so well. Right. That's exactly the point. Your PhD is that painting, and how you package it is what helps you get the offer. Now, know that if you package it this way, this is where you're being too honest with your answers, and that is costing you the offer. And if you knew that, would you keep doing that? Of course not. So in this video, we're going to dive into 5 places where you go wrong by being absolutely honest, which is hurting your career transition. Hi, I'm Dr. Rima Dey. If you're new to my channel, then I am a Smartdom PhD smart because I'm a PhD just like you and it made me super smart. But at the same time, I realized I don't know so much and I'm open to learning. And when you want to learn, you need to be a lot more dumb because that helps you grow rapidly. And I work with PhDs across 7+ countries on their career transition journey. Now, before we jump into the 5 places that I'm going to be talking about where you are being too honest, I want to ensure that in no way I'm advocating you to lie about things in your resume, in your interviews, in your salary, but it's about being more strategic. That increases your perceived value and finally gets you the offer. The first thing that I want to talk about is the resume. Okay, now know that academia trains you for morality, and when it comes to morality, mostly it's black and white, but the real world is a lot more complex and there are shades of grays. And when you're dealing with shades of grays, there's no right or wrong thing to do, but there are things to do that align well with what you're trying to achieve. So when it comes to your resume, you need to first understand what are the kind of roles that you are applying to. For example, right now I'm working with a PhD who wants to transition into an MSL role, which she has absolutely no experience with earlier. However, in the past, she has worked at a big FMGC company where she had the opportunity to work on clinical surveys, clinical data insights generation. Okay, now we want to highlight that in her resume because that is relevant for the role, even though that has been way back in the past. But then know that relevancy is much more important in the job market than recency. Okay, so something recent, if it's not relevant to the job market, you won't want to highlight it as much. So that's how you are packaging things in your resume. In addition, if you want further information on things that are going wrong in your resume, you can check out this video where I cover 5 things that you do wrong in your resume with a free template at the end of the video. Now let's move to the next one, which is the question that is being asked to PhDs is, why are you leaving academia? Now, you might say, Rima, the answer is simple. We are not supposed to say that we are leaving because the pay was bad, the my supervisor was not great, the environment was getting toxic. I know that. I need to answer it that way. I'm sure you know that. And in case if you don't know, then this is for both kind of PhDs. You need to understand when you haven't answered that question in real time ever, answering it all of a sudden in the interview gets a lot more uncomfortable. Why? Because whenever you are being asked that question, the thing that comes to your mind is the experiences you had in academia, and therefore what you're saying and what you're feeling is not in coherence. Okay, that's the reason you need to practice that answer, because sometimes your body language says way more than your words do. Okay, and again, what matters is the thought behind the answer. So when you, even though you had a bad experience and and all of those reasons are very true, happens with most of us, but the answer that goes into is, well, academia is something that has helped me develop these skill sets now, but I realized that every opportunity has a saturation point. I believe in academia I've hit that saturation point, and to reinvent myself and grow myself in XYZ ways, I believe these are the roles that are the best fit for me, and that's the reason I am now looking forward to such kind of opportunities. When you answer that way, that shows the thoughtfulness, the deep thinking that has gone into the roles that you're applying to, and that again elevates your perceived value. Okay, with that, let's move to the third question, which is my absolute favorite, which is I don't have experience, Rima. And this is where one of my recent community members who transitioned into semiconductor industry got stuck every time and thought that this is the deciding question that is going to get her the offer, and she absolutely froze. I didn't know how to answer this earlier. Okay, so I'm going to tell it to you right now. Whenever you don't have experience, the first obvious response is that you say that I don't have experience. Okay, of course you might not have it, but I want to tell you that the instances of such things happening are really low. When you don't have experience, absolutely say that. But I want you to sit with the JD that you're applying to, underline the things where you don't have experience, and think about what is the nearest thing have I done to this. Okay, number one. And number two is, what have I done to upskill myself in these areas? Okay. And once you have clarity on these two things, then you go about answering the question something like, hey, I don't have experience in this, but this is what I have done in the past, and that's why I've picked up these skills, and these are the exact skills required to learn this thing the fastest way possible. And that's the reason I think I can learn this in XYZ time. Okay, now when you do that, you need to understand that the recruiters are asking you this question not to get an answer which is a confession, yes, I don't have this experience, but they are trying to understand that even without the experience, if you are hired in the team, would it take a lot for you to catch up, or you will be a quick learner? Okay, so you want to take it in that direction, that you can be a quick learner because of these reasons. Okay, now let's move to the fourth question, which is, what is your salary expectation? Oh my God, so many PhDs freeze on this question, and that is expected. You've been working in environments where there was years of underpricing, you were underpaid for years, and there was years of thinking that I should be grateful for this. Okay, now you have that wiring again carried to the industry role that you're interviewing for, that if I get this job, I should be so thankful for, I should not ask for more. But that's not the way to think about it. Okay, so whenever you are asked the question, what is your salary expectation, don't jump into it to answer, hey, this is the number I'm expecting. No, give it some time, let some back and forth happen, because that again shows your leadership skills. So instead of answering what your number is, if you say something like, thank you for asking that question. At the moment, I'm looking forward to understanding this role really deeply and how my skill sets align. And I'm so sure that if we find each other the right fit, then we can definitely come to an agreeable number. Okay, now that shows your leadership skills, that shows that you are a mature person, that shows you know your worth, and instantly that makes a person on the other end interviewing you feel something about you where your value again gets elevated. Okay, with that, let's move to the last question, and which is, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Now, know again the intent. Why is someone asking you this question? Because they don't want to hire somebody who is a flight risk, which means they hire them and they use this role as a launching pad for their next role, or they move on to the next better role that they find quickly. No one wants that. So even if you have plans to not stay in that role, you don't have to share those plans with them, and that is absolutely ethical, because as I mentioned earlier in the video, the real world is a lot more complex. There's a lot of gray areas, and this is where you move forward with your integrity and values in the process. Say if you get hired, you might find that the team is not great, the people are not as welcoming as they appeared in the interview, or there are a lot more challenges than being a solution. So you can definitely change your mind to leave that job. That's the reason you don't need to be honest that you might not stay in this job, but you have to show that you know what this role is about and why this interests you. And in the 5 years, how do you see this role evolving and yourself evolving with this role in the long run? So You're not trying to predict your life right now, but you're trying to show that you are in alignment with the company's vision, mission, and culture. And that shows that you're worth investing in. Okay. And with that, I want to share one last tip, which is something I've observed inside my community with PhDs happening, which is they tend to defend when asked, hey, in your PhD, why didn't you do this? So they tend to get into defense mode. Now, this is a subtle thing that again positions you very wrongly, and that is because what does it say about you when you tend to defend, and how does a defense sound like? It's like in a viva or PhD defense, you have been asked, hey, why didn't you do this? And you try to justify it. Hey, I didn't do this because XYZ didn't matter, da da da, and this was not the thing, and all of that, right? You try to justify it. Now that's exactly what you don't want to do in your PhD interviews. Rather, you want to be welcoming to that perspective and say something like, I never thought about it this way because I never had this exposure. Now that you told me this, I think the best thing I would do, considering what I had done in the past under these circumstances, is XYZ. So you're being welcoming. Now, what does that say about you? That you can accept when you're going wrong. You know that it's a real world, things can go messy, and you know how to take care of that mess. And that shows your attitude towards accepting, towards self-correcting, towards being open to self-learning. So this is also a leadership trait that is highly valued. Okay, so all in all, I want to tell you, you as a PhD are very, very, very capable of landing whatever role you're targeting for, provided you have clarity on the roles that you should go for. If not, watch out this Curricularity video. And once you have that, I want to tell you, it's never ever your capabilities that are in question, but it's about how you're packaging and how much information you are sharing that is helping the recruiter to take the decision. Yes, you are the person that they need in their team, or they're like confused. I don't know how they fit into the team. Okay, so with that, if this video helped you, please share and tell me in comments which is the one thing that you're getting too honest about and that's hurting you, and I'll meet you in the upcoming videos. Okay, for now, this is Dr. Reema De Asmadam, PhD, signing off.